Hi there, Pride Plant Girl here. Today I'm planting out my impatiens. I'm getting the seeds in the soil so I can get the plants ready so they're ready to go out when it's warm enough outside to do so. Impatiens is a cheery little annual bedding plant. You can usually pick them up quite cheaply in any garden center, so you don't have to start them from seed. But in the last few years, there's been some concerns with some fungal diseases and mildew diseases with impatiens, and sometimes I find here at least they're not always available at the garden centers, and there's something that I can rely on to grow well in the shady areas that I have around my deck and patio. So I always like to have a supply of them on hand when I can. So I've picked up some seeds from T&T Seeds this year, and I'm going to plant them up and see how they do. So let's get them started. So I find if you buy just a mix at your local stores, quite often you'll just find a mixture. I forget, it's called like Tropical Punch or something, I think, for impatiens. And they grow well. I've grown them many times, but I decided this year to order these seeds. So I have Super Elfin Cherry Splash and Super Elfin Red Starburst. Impatiens are another one of those tiny little seeds. That just like to sit on top of the soil and have light to germinate. So all I'm going to be doing is just putting one seed in each cell. Now you want to start your impatiens, around 6 to 10 weeks before you're going to be putting them outside. You don't necessarily plan from your last frost free date, because you want to wait until the shady areas of your yard have warmed up a little bit. When you're still around that close to freezing mark at night, and quite often the daytime temperatures then haven't warmed up the shadier parts of your yard where these are going to be growing, and they'll sulk a little bit. They won't want to be left in that cool area. So there's a lot of different types of impatiens. These are just the regular like bedding plant. They have a smaller leaf. They're usually the flowers pretty much cover the plant, and if you run your hand across the plants when there's some older flowers, then you quite often will be able to just the flowers will just fall right off to the ground. It takes nothing for deadheading. You don't have to deadhead, but it'll just make them look nicer. Just give them a light brush across the tops, and then the flowers will fall off, and they'll be replenished again with new flowers quite quickly, and you don't really ever notice. If they start to get a little bit leggy for some reason, just cut them back by a third. The same with if you're going to be going away on a holiday. Cut them back by a third to even a half, and when you come back, they'll be all bushed out and full and looking beautiful again, whereas they might have been getting a little bit leggy, But I find impatiens a nice, reliable little plant. There's also sun patiens, and you don't want to get those two mixed up with the regular impatiens, because sun patiens like the sun and want to be planted out in a sunny area, whereas impatiens prefer part sun to shady areas. I find they do really well where you get morning sun and then afternoon shade. So there's really not much to growing impatiens. They're very similar to a lot of the other bedding plants that you might put out that have a small seed and want light to germinate. I'm just going to set them under some grow lights. They like a little bit of warmth to get started. These seed packages said that once they hit the 3-leaf stage to put them into very cool conditions. I don't ever remember worrying about that in the past, so I'm not sure I'm going to this time either. Maybe it makes them a stronger plant, but I've never had trouble with my impatiens, so I'm just going to probably just leave them as is under the lights and let them grow until they're ready to go outside. But I just think, you know, there was a couple of years where I thought that they're so cheap at the garden center, they're not worth putting the work into to grow them. But then I couldn't find them at the garden centers because sometimes the growers don't grow very many and don't put very many out because of concerns about forecasted disease for that year. So I just find it easiest now to just always make sure I have some planted up so that they're ready to go out in the yard when I want them in the yard. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, then please do that so you don't miss any of my videos. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.